Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Tuesday, June 18th edition of the MMAOB Daily Show. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin. Going to be taking you through the latest in the world of mixed martial arts. First and foremost, guys, follow me on Twitter at MMAdamMartin. Follow this podcast at MMAOddsbreaker.com. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel at MMA Oddsbreaker. Please share, please like, please let your friends know. Also, find me on SureDog.com, BJPen.com, MMAnews.com, and MMAratings.net. First and foremost, apologies for yesterday. There was an issue with the stream. I wasn't aware of it until after I posted the episode. So sorry, guys. There was some audio and video issues, but I think today should be okay. My internet seems to be working fine, so hopefully no issues. But before I get into the fight announcements, wanted to say I was at the victory parade yesterday. I went down as soon as I finished the podcast. I pretty much spent the whole day there. It was good. I mean, it was nice to see a lot of people. There was like 2 million people. It was insane. I've never seen that many people in one place at one time. You honestly couldn't move. You had to like shove your way through crowds. Unfortunately, there was a shooting incident. I believe 4 people were injured in the shooting. Terrible, terrible news. I actually left a little bit early. It was just getting really crammed, and the parade was like 3 hours delayed. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to head home, beat the crowds. And right where I was the whole afternoon, there was the shooting. So it's really crazy. Like the parade was almost all of downtown Toronto. And the one spot where I was at, like an hour after I left, someone got shot. So yeah, I'm counting my lucky ducks today, guys, because it could have easily been me. So I'm glad I got home safe. I'm glad that no one was killed. I believe they're critically injured, but not dead. So that's good. But it's just terrible if someone would, bring a gun to a parade like that and ruin the party. I mean, it's just disgusting. And I hope that they're dealt with to the full extent of the law. But let's talk about MMA because that's why we're here. Congrats, Raptors, but the season's over now. Get ready for the draft. Time for MMA talk. So today's going to be a massive fight announcement roundup. That's what I'm calling this episode, the massive fight announcement roundup, because there's like 20 fights I want to talk about that I wasn't able to the last couple of days because of my trip and because yesterday I did a Bellator recap. So I want to give a shout out to my buddy Marcel Dorf over on his Instagram page. He keeps track of all the fights. So I had to go to his page and I rounded up everything that I missed the last couple of days. So thanks to Marcel. I appreciate that, buddy. You're doing a great job over there. Follow his Instagram if you guys have it. It's a great follow over there. I will talk about Dana White's Contender Series at the end of the show, but I want to go through all the fight announcements first because there's so many of them, and let's go right into them. There was a middleweight fight that's going to take place this weekend, actually, and the odds are already out for it. There's an injury replacement. Deron Winn's going to take on Eric Spicely here. Spicely's coming in on short notice. Winn, there's odds on this one already. Winn opened at minus 320 and Spicely at plus 240. So the odds seem about fair to me. I mean, Spicely does have some good wins in his career. Thiago Santos, for instance, but Deron Winn, undefeated prospect. I expect everyone to be betting on Winn here. And he Spicely could pull it off. He's got a good submission game, but his durability is definitely an issue. So not surprised by the line here. But yes, definitely worth mentioning. I'll break that fight down tomorrow a little bit more with Cole Shelton because it's taking place this weekend. So I don't want to spoil it too much. But yes, I do agree with the odds listing Deron Winn as the favorite. UFC on ESPN 3, that's next week. That's in Minneapolis. There's a couple fights that were, again, announced due to late notice injuries. So now Jordan Griffin's taking on Vince Murdock. So let me just pull these guys out here. Jordan Griffin. Let's take a look at these guys pulling their shirt dogs out. So Jordan Griffin, 17-6 record. He lost to Dan Ige in his UFC debut. Before that, had won 5 straight fights. Lost at Warner Schneider before that. He has some decent experience, a lot of fights. He actually looked pretty good against Dan Ige. That was a really close fight. So he could have easily won that decision. And if he did, then he'd be in a much better spot in the division right now. But he lost, so he's got to basically start fresh from the bottom here at featherweight. He was supposed to take on Chas Skelly. Chas Skelly's hurt, so now he's taking on Vince Murdock. Let me pull up Vince Murdock here. Vince Murdock, let's pull him out. So this guy looks interesting. 12-3 record. He's coming off of, 4 straight wins here on the regional scene. And most of the opponents would probably be Jesse Arnett and Hard Knocks. He has some experience. I don't know. I would definitely favor Griffin in this fight just based on my initial reaction to it. We don't have odds for it. Again, that card's going to be next week, so the odds will come out then. But wanted to mention that as well. And there's also another injury. Sergio Pettis is out now. Jordan Newson is going to take on Ricardo Ramos. So let me pull up Ricardo Ramos. Same card. I like Ricardo Ramos. I think he's pretty solid. I'm going to pull him out here. 12-2 record. He lost to Sadie Nurmagomedov in his last fight, but had beaten Kyung-Ho Kang, Eamon Zahabi, and Michinori Tanaka in the 3 fights before that. Also beat Alfred Kasakian on Dana White's looking for a fight to get into the UFC. So I think he's actually a pretty decent prospect. The loss to Nurmagomedov kind of sucks, but Nurmagomedov is pretty good. And I mean, who could forget that Eamon Zahabi knockout? That was on the GSP Bisping card. That was an amazing knockout. I believe he won part of a bonus for that fight anyways. And now he's taking this guy, Jordan Newsom. He's coming off a win on the regional scene. Actually, he's coming off of 6 straight wins. So kind of an interesting prospect, but he hasn't really fought anyone worth notable. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe this guy can pull it off, but I definitely expect Ricardo Ramos to be favored just based on his UFC experience. So those are a couple injury replacements. Now let's get into the good stuff here. UFC on ESPN 4 has its main event finally announced, and it's a really great fight. So the rumor originally was we were going to see Valentina Shevchenko take on Liz Carmouche. And I think that's actually a pretty good rematch. They had fought before, and Liz won. So I'd like to see that rematch at some point, but I don't think that's the main event. Instead, the main event of UFC San Antonio is a great welterweight fight. Rafael Dos Anjos is taking on Leon Edwards. I love this fight. It makes a lot of sense based on the division, based on where the rankings are. So RDA, of course, one of the best fighters at 170 pounds, coming off a great win over Kevin Lee, 4th-round submission, looked awesome in that fight. Before that, had lost back-to-back decisions to Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington. And then before that, since moving up to welterweight, it beat Tarek Safadine, Neil Magny by submission, and also Robbie Lawler by lopsided decision. So he's one of the best guys in the world. He is 34. He's getting up there in age. But, I mean, the Kevin Lee fight showed that RDA has plenty of gas left in the tank. He looked amazing in that fight. Not ready to write him off just yet. Having said that, this is a tough fight, I think, because Leon Edwards is a beast, 27 years old. Looked amazing in the UFC. I believe he's, 9-2 in the UFC. So this guy is unbelievable. 7 straight wins. Only lost to Usman, so they have a common opponent. Also lost to Silva, I should say, Claudio Silva by the split decision, close fight. But since then, 7 straight wins. Looked amazing. Beat Donald Cerrone, beat Gunnar Nelson. The guy's awesome. I do expect RDA to be favored. I mean, he should be based on his resume, based on his pedigree. But I think Leon Edwards has a really good chance to win this fight. I mean, I've been betting on this guy pretty much all his fights. He always wins for the most part, gets his hand raised. I think he matches up pretty well against RDA. His wrestling's really good. His striking might be a little bit better. So I think he matches up well. If RDA can get those takedowns, he probably could win a decision here. But I feel like Edwards can keep this fight standing and on the feet. I really do think he could outstrike RDA. I also think he can kind of push him against the fence a little bit too. He's a little bit bigger. So I actually tend to favor Leon Edwards a little bit here. Although I do think based on just, like I said, the pedigree, the experience, the name, RDA will probably be favored. I think Leon Edwards has a good chance to win. So I don't know what you guys are thinking. Let me know, but I think Leon Edwards has a really good chance. Also on that same card, UFC San Antonio, we got Francisco Trinaldo taking on Alexander Hernandez. I like this fight a lot. I am a little confused why they didn't rebook the fight with Diego Ferreira. Kind of strange to me because I think that fight would have been awesome. But either way, I like this fight a lot. Trinaldo hasn't fought since last September, but he knocked out Evan Dunham in that fight, so he looked great. He is really old, though he's 40 years old. He could actually be older. He looks older than that. But the guy's a beast. He's just a beast. Like, look at his record. He's great. I mean, what's his record in the UFC? I'm pulling it over here, 10-1, so he's 12-5. I mean, that's a good record. He's one of the best lightweights in the world. He's old, like I said, but he's got good wins. Paul Felder, Jim Miller, Evan Dunham, so he has some good wins. He's taking out Alexander Hernandez here, a lot younger, 26 years old. Coming off a TKO loss to Donald Cerrone, but before that had beaten Olivier Aubin Mercier and Camille Dariush in the octagon. The guy's a really good fighter, and he's a lot younger too. So this is a good fight for sure. Can go either way. I mean, it really could. Both guys are awesome. Trinaldo has more experience in the UFC. He has arguably better wins, arguably a better resume. I mean, it definitely has a better resume. But Hernandez is so much younger, 14 years younger. You can't ignore that. So I think Hernandez probably is going to be the favorite here just based on the age advantage. I think people will probably be trying to fade Trinaldo, but I'm 100% sure it's a good idea because I think if he can keep this fight standing, he has a chance to knock Hernandez out. The guy's a lot of power. So good fight. Still not sure why they canceled the Ferrer fight completely. They could have rebooked it, but either way, this is a pretty good fight. Makes sense. Two guys basically fighting for the 15th spot at 155 pounds. So good fight. Next up, UFC 240. There's a heavyweight bout here. Tanner Boser will be making his UFC debut. I'll pull him out here. So Tanner Boser is going to be taking on Giacomo Lemos. So interesting fight here. Boser 65 record, coming off of a win over Jared Kilkenny on the regional scene. Well, now what's that? 16-5-1, I should say. So he beat Jared Kilkenny earlier this year. Actually, it was like 2 weeks ago by knockout leg kick. But he's just 1-1-1 in his last 3 fights. So that's a little concerning. He does have a couple of good wins in his resume. Chase Gormley, DJ Linder. I mean, not great wins by any means, but notable guys, I guess. Raheem Cleveland, Tony Lopez, Victor Alamiki, the late Tim Hague, Rip. So he's got some decent wins. And he's taking on this guy, Giacomo Lemos. Again, this fight is taking place in Edmonton, so very close to Tanner Boser's hometown. Lemos 5-0, 29 years old. He's got 5 straight wins in his career. He started fighting in 2016, so late start to his career, but 5 straight wins by stoppage. Guy looks like a beast. Could go either way. I mean, Boser's fighting at home, but this guy Lemos looks pretty good from what I've seen. So he's a physical specimen. Go look at the guy's pictures. He might gas out quick, though. I mean, just based on what I've seen, looks like he could gas out quick, but I don't know. Heavyweight, low-level heavyweight MMA could go either way. Boser probably is going to be favored, I guess, based on just the fact he's fighting close to home, but who knows? I mean, Lemos is undefeated, so I'm not really sure what the odds makers are thinking on that one, to be honest with you, but we'll see what happens. UFC Fight Night 155, there's a bantamweight, but I should say not flyweight. I don't think it's flyweight. Matt Schnell taking on Jordan Espinosa. Let me just pull these guys out here. Matt Schnell, man, he's looked pretty good. I mean, I wasn't expecting much. Actually, this fight is a flyweight bout, so that's interesting. There's very few flyweight bouts. 13-4 record here for Matt Schnell. He's on a 3-fight win streak. He lost his first 2 fights in the UFC and then got brought back, and since then has looked really good. The Louis Smolka fight was a really good performance by him. He's taking on Jordan Espinosa here, 14-5 record. He's on a 5-fight win streak. Beat Eric Shelton in his UFC debut, but by decision, not that impressive. I got to go with Matt Schnell here, man. For what I've seen, this guy's damn good. He's improved a lot. Really impressed with him. It's a flyweight bout between 2 guys that are probably really evenly matched, so I expect the fight to go the distance, but I do tend to lean towards Matt Schnell. That card was supposedly rumored for Sochi, Russia. We don't know yet, though. Dana White did not confirm that when asked recently, so maybe that's going to be another place in Russia, or maybe they're going to do it somewhere completely else, but we'll see what happens there. All right, so continuing on with the fight announcements, UFC 156, this is in Uruguay. There's a couple of fights announced for this card. So first off, we got Oskar Piechota, 11-1-1 record here, 29 years old, taking on Rodolfo Vieira. So Piechota, he lost to Gerald Meerschaert in his actually in his last fight. He had beaten Tim Williams and Jonathan Wilson in his first 2 UFC fights. So he has quite a bit of experience. He also beat Craig White earlier in his career, the guy who fought Diego Sanchez last year. So he has some decent experience. But the loss to Meerschaert showed that he can be beaten. And now he's taking on Rodolfo Vieira, 5-0, 29 years old. Call him the Black Belt Hunter, 5-0. Most of his wins by stoppage, by submission. So interesting fight here. You can probably hear my dogs barking right now. Apologies for that. I don't know. Probably a dog walking by the front door. Anyways, Vieira, yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens here. Again, close fight. Who knows? Could go either way. But I think Vieira, based on the undefeated record, would probably be favored here. Also for that card, we have a featherweight bout between Enrique Barzola and Bobby Moffett. Interesting fight here. I mean, Barzola, I think, he's pretty good, 15-4-1 record, but he should have never been favored over Kevin Aguilar in the last fight. That was a mistake, I think. So people who got Aguilar at plus money were good on that one. The guy's still damn good, though. 5-2 record. He's a solid fighter. Now he's taking on Bobby Moffett here. Bobby Moffett, 14-4 record, 29 years old. He's 1-1 in the UFC, beat Chas Skelly by controversial submission, and then lost to Bryce Mitchell in a really close fight. It was a really good fight as well. Close fight can go either way. Kind of lean towards Barzola a little bit, just based on the fact he's fighting so close to home, and he's from, I believe, Peru. So close to home, Moffitt's making a long flight. Barzola's been a little bit more solid in the UFC, but again, a pretty close matchup. Also on that card, we have Rachael Ostovich taking on Veronica Macedo. Rachael Ostovich, very popular fighter among the fans, of course, but very limited fighter as well. She's a 4-5 in her career and 1-2 in the UFC. Listen, she had a tough year. I get it. So, I don't want to say anything about her negatively. I don't think she's a great fighter. I think her record shows that, but I think it's the right call by the UFC to give her one more fight. She's had a very tough year in that last fight against Paige VanZant. Very tough circumstances, very difficult circumstances. Her team should have pulled her from that fight, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, she ended up losing by submission, and we know what happened before that fight with her ex-husband. So, really sad stuff there. But, she does have some submission ability, and she has quite a bit of experience. She's fought some good fighters, so I'm not ready to completely write off Rachael Ostovich, but I do think she is very limited as a fighter. Taking on Veronica Macedo here, just 23 years old. Again, another limited fighter, 0-3 in the UFC, coming off a submission loss to Julian Robertson. Both very attractive women, no doubt about it. So that's pretty much what the fans are going to be saying about this fight, what the media is going to be saying. They're only in the UFC because they're good looking. I do think there's some skill here between these two. Now we have to find out who has skill and who's going to be sent back to Invicta. I think that's what's going to happen here. Someone's going to move on, someone's going to move backwards. So I would have to go with Ostovich, I think, just because she has fought better competition. But, I mean, it's really hard to trust either of these two fighters here, and I wouldn't be rushing to lay out any sort of money on them. And actually, there's two other fights here for this card. Tecia Torres is coming back to fight Marina Rodriguez. This is an interesting fight. Tecia Torres, 10-4 record. She's good. She's 6-4 in the UFC. She has some good wins in her career. I mean, she beat Roseanne Muniz back in Invictus. She's beat Paige Van Zandt. She beat Felice Herrig. She's beat Angela Hill. She has some good wins. She's beat Michelle Watterson too, but she has some just poor performances, and she does no finishing ability whatsoever. She has 10 wins and 1 by stoppage. I mean, that's really bad. So the UFC is finally catching on that she's not an exciting fighter. She's lost her last 3 fights in a row, including a surprising loss at the time to Willie Zhang. Now taking on Marina Rodriguez, 11-0-1, fighting in Brazil. She's coming off a win over Jessica Aguilar. Before that, a draw against Randa Marcos. Not a ton of finishes for her either, but more than Torres. Torres will be favored here, no doubt about it. And she's the bigger name. She has more experience, but I don't know. She can't finish fights, so that's concerning. Rodriguez definitely has a shot here. It's a close fight. It's a women's strawweight fight. Probably goes the distance. I wouldn't want to, again, lay money on this fight. It's not the kind of fight I'd be rushing to bet, but Torres will be favored here, I think. And finally on that card, we have Rafael Fiziev taking on Alex De Silva. So Rafael Fiziev, pulling him out here, 6-1. He lost to Magomed Mustafayev by spinning back kick and punches in his UFC debut. That was a very poor performance, but also a great performance by Magomed Mustafayev. I'm not ready to write this guy off just yet. I do think he has some potential here, and now he's taking on Alex De Silva Colo. Alex De Silva, 20-2 record, but lost to Alexander Yakovlev by second-round submission. Disappointed there. Flip a coin for this one, guys. I really don't know. I mean, maybe Colo's favored just because he's fighting in Brazil. It's close to Uruguay, but again, no idea. It's a really close fight. Almost done here with the fight announcements. UFC 241, there's a couple of fights announced for this one. A couple of women's fights. So first off, we have Sabina Mazo taking on Shayna Dobson. So Sabina Mazo, pulling her out here. Sabina Mazo, 6-1 record, just 22 years old. Looked really bad against Marina Rose in her debut, but I think a lot of that had to do with the jitters. She'll be back 6-0 before that. She had a lot of promise, a couple of knockouts in the regional scene and LFA, so people were very high on her. But again, the fight against Morose was very poor. I think she'll bounce back here, though. Shayna Dobson, just 3-2. Most notably lost to Nika Montano earlier in her career, and also lost to Lauren Mueller in her second UFC fight. She also beat Ariel Beck, who's not in the UFC any longer, in her debut. She hasn't fought since last April, so a long time away from the cage. I gotta favor Mazo in this fight, even though she didn't look good in that fight against Morose. I still think she has to be favored here just based on her pedigree. Also on that card, we got Poliana Botello taking on Marina Morose. So the aforementioned Marina Morose. Marina Morose, 93 record, coming off a win over Mazo, like I mentioned. Overall, she's 3-3 in the 4-3 in the UFC. She has that really good win over Joanne Calderwood in her debut, and she's taking on Poliana Botello here. Poliana Botello pulling her out as well. Poliana Botello, 8-2 record, coming off a win over Lauren Mueller. She also beat Pearl Gonzalez and Siori Kondo and lost to Cynthia Calvillo. This is a pretty good fight, close fight. I kind of lean towards Botello a little bit. I do think she's a little bit more solid fighter, but Marina Rose did look really good, and she's looked good since she went to ATT. So close fight, coin flip. I got to think more about this one. Got to see the odds, but I do kind of slightly lean towards Botello. I've been a little bit more impressed with her, but we'll see what happens there. And finally, for UFC 2, actually, there's one other one here. 2 other women's fights altogether, but that's at UFC 242. I'll mention that in a second. But the last one for UFC 241 is Hannah Cifers taking on Jodie Escobar. So a little surprised Jodie Escobar is getting another fight in the UFC. I mean, Keith Jardine, Dean Amin, her husband, he probably convinced Dana to give her one more shot. 0-3 in the UFC, 3 decision losses, hasn't looked good. I mean, they said that Dana White said Elias Theodore was cut because we have too many fighters in our spots. Then you keep a fighter out around with 3 losses in her 3 fights. Kind of confusing. I get it. Different division. I get it. You know, she's a woman and Elias is a man. They need women's fighters. I get that, but 0-3 and she hasn't looked good. So kind of weird. Hannah Cifers 1-1 in the UFC, lost to Macy Barr and then beat Polyana Vieira. So very strange matchmaking here. You have a fighter that's coming off a win versus one coming off 3 straight losses. I like Hannah Cifers in this fight. She's good. I mean, she's really good and underrated. So, I mean, hopefully you get a good line on her. It feels like no one really respects her, but I think she can win this fight. Now we're going to get to UFC Fight Night 158. We're almost done here, guys. With the fight announcements, David Branch taking on Andrew Sanchez here. Good fight. I like this one. David Branch, 22-6 record, coming off back-to-back losses, though, to Jared Cannonier and Jack Hermanson. And since he's come back to the UFC, he's 2-3. He did knock out Thiago Santos, though, so that's a good win, but he's been finished in his 3 losses, which is very concerning. Now he's taking on Andrew Sanchez. Andrew Sanchez, El Dirte, 11-4 record, 4-2 in the UFC, coming up back-to-back wins over Marcus Perez and Marc-Andre Barrio. He looked pretty good against Barrio. I don't know. Like this is a tough one. Sanchez definitely is looking better lately, but David Branch has the pedigree, has the name. He's a lot older. He's 37, but he's got way more experience. He's fought way better fighters. He has way better wins. David Branch has to be favored here, but don't be surprised if Sanchez wins. Also on that card, I love this fight. Misha Cirkunov taking on Jimmy Crute. Love both these guys. So good matchup here. Misha, he really needs to get a win, but I don't know if this is the fight. 14-5 record for Misha. He's 5-3 in the UFC, coming off a devastating knockout loss to Johnny Walker. He's had a rough go here. He's just 1-3 in his last 4 fights with 3 knockout losses. So love Misha, but man, it's really concerning to see him get knocked out like this. Now he's taking on Jimmy Crute, just 23 years old, undefeated at 10-0. Guy's a beast, man. Awesome fighter. Beat Sam Alvey, beat Paul Craig in his UFC fights. He's awesome. I got to go with Jim Crute. I mean, even though Misha's fighting at home in Vancouver, not close to Toronto, but in his home country of Canada, got to go with Jim Crute. I think Misha, unfortunately, has to be faded here, and Jimmy Crute should be a big favorite here. If he's anything close to even, hammer that line. Finally, for that card, UFC Fighting 158, Antonio Carlos Jr. taking on Uriah Hall. You can just pull these guys out here. Antonio Carlos Jr. coming off a really disappointing loss to Ian Heinisch, but before that had won 5 straight fights. Overall, he's kind of been disappointed in the UFC. You know, he hasn't really beaten anyone great. I guess the best one he has is Tim Bosch, but overall been disappointing. Now he's taking on Uriah Hall. Another guy who's been disappointing in his career. 14-9 record for Uriah Hall. 7-7 record in the UFC. So a 500 fighter, but coming off a brutal knockout win over Von Lewis, which looks pretty damn good, and also the knockout win over Christoph Jocko. He also beat Gary Sauce to be a knockout. I mean, the guy can knock people out at times. Hard to trust completely. Flip a coin for this one, guys. I have no idea. I mean, we don't know what to expect from both guys. I think you got to favor Hall based on the fact it's coming off a brutal knockout win, but who knows? I mean, maybe he gets taken down and grounded. And finally, the last fight announcement to talk about, UFC 242. That card continues to get new fights. We have Sarah Morris. She's returning to the octagon to take on Liana Yua. So Sarah Morris 5-5, and she's 2-4 in the UFC. She lost 3 straight fights. Lost to Macy Chiasson in her last fight. In some ways, I'm surprised she's getting another fight, but she's been a good soldier over the years for the UFC. Now she's taking on Liana Yuya, 7-2 record, just 24 years old from Georgia, 5 straight wins, a lot of submissions here. You got to favor her in this fight, Yuya. So those are all the fight announcements, guys. I mean, there was a lot of fight announcements to get through, but I got through them all. So I think that was like 20 fights. Before we leave, though, I do want to talk about the Contender Series. So I want to pull that out. I posted the opening odds over at MMAOBdaily.com for this card. So I want to pull those out right now. That card's tonight. So I'll talk about this tomorrow. I'll talk about who else won and everything like that. Bet Online actually opened the odds for this fight. So not 5 dimes, it was Bet Online. So I want to mention that because Nick told me to mention that. So definitely worth noting. Now let's go through them. Puna Heli Soriano's taking on Jamie Pickett here. Middleweight fight. Again, you can check my article at MMAOBdaily.com, but Soriano, 26 years old. He's a veteran of Titan FC, PFL, and LFA. Only had 5 fights, but he does have some good wins, 5 finishes. Pickett 7-3. Most notable, he lost to Charles Bird in the first series, the Contender Series. More fights for Pickett, but he's lost a couple times. Soriano undefeated. You got to favor Soriano here, and that's why he opened at -300. Next up, Hannah Goldie taking on Kaylee Robbins. So Hannah Goldie, she's actually the girlfriend sorry, not the girlfriend, the wife of Alex Nicholson in the PFL. So that's interesting to have here. Sherdog lists her at 1 fight, but Tapology has her at 4 fights. So I think she probably has 4 fights. Taking on Kaylee Robbins here, 6-2 record. I don't know. Like, look at Goldie. Like, go look at her Instagram. This girl is an absolute physical specimen. She's a big favorite. Shouldn't say big favorite. She only opened at -180 with Robbins at +155. But you look at the odds now. Robbins is -420. So huge favorite now. You got to favor her in this fight, but who knows? I mean, Robbins does have more experience. Also, we have featherweight bout between Brennan Lofton and Billy Algeo. They open at -110 each. Now we have Lofton at -300, Algeo +250. I don't know. I mean, I know Lofton has the better name, the bigger name. He's fought more, and he fought in the UFC before, actually. He fought the Tough Smashes finale. He fought against Mike Wilkinson. Lost him there, later knocked him out again. I don't know, though. He's kind of lost those big fights when he needs them. Algeo, he's also a guy that hasn't really won the big fight either. So it's a fight, I think, between two guys getting their last chance to get in the UFC, to be perfectly honest. So go either way. I don't know. I would lean towards Algeo at the current odds at +250. I don't know. I'm not seeing why law things are -300 favorite, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong with that. And finally, we got a heavyweight bout between Alton Meeks and Juan De Castro. Alton Meeks, he is -900 currently, so that's crazy to me. +600 for Jorgen De Castro. Meeks opened at -290 and De Castro +240. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why this guy's -900. I mean, come on, low-level heavyweight fights, no way. I would take De Castro. I mean, you throw a few bucks on, why not? Who knows? 2 low-level heavyweights. I don't know why this guy's -900. Very confusing to me. Anyways, I think that's all I want to talk about, guys. I'm getting a little tired talking by myself, but tomorrow I will do the regular podcast. I'll talk about whatever happened last night, and then Cole Shelton's going to join me a little bit later. I think around 10 o'clock in the morning. I'll let you guys know, to do the UFC Greenville preview. So we'll be previewing the whole card. I'm looking forward to that, doing that with Cole. But until then, guys, I appreciate you guys listening. Thanks for joining us today. Again, follow me on Twitter at MMAOB. Follow the podcast at MMAOddsbreaker.com. Follow it on YouTube. Also on SoundCloud. Check out churro.com. I posted my beat in the books and Insane Prop Bets. Check that out. MMAnews.com. I posted one on actually a possibility of a cross promotion between the UFC and Bellator, because Scott Coker was talking about that last week. So check that out. MMARatings.net. I have to send something in this week. I will post something there soon. And BJPan.com. I'll start posting some news again. I was away the last couple of days, so wasn't able to get to it. So again, guys, appreciate you guys listening to the show. And I'll be back tomorrow morning and talk about whatever else happens in the news of MMA. Have a good one, guys. Talk to you later.